Everybody, I'm going to do a speed run of the bees with the fly swatter. So let's see how fast we can make this and yet still you understand it. So let's go. Start by creating a new document. I'm going to assume you can get into Adobe Animate yourselves and you don't need my help. We're going to choose a standard size canvas and we are going to change it to an HTML5 canvas, not because that matters at all for this, but just because I want you to get in the habit of that. Go ahead and click create. Now that you load in, notice your timeline is down here. You can make it a little larger since we're going to have about 7 layers. I'm going to fit my window. There we go. And the first thing we want to do is call your first layer B. And let's make ourselves a bee. I'm going to make my bee yellow. And then I'm going to grab the brush and I'm going to color a bee in. If you don't want your background to look white, you can click anywhere on the stage and change the stage color. I'm going to change it to something blue. Now that our bee is created, if you click on any part of it, you'll notice they're separate parts. We want to make this all one big symbol, so I'm going to click and drag over the entire bee and let go. And you see that it's all lit up with the little white dots. Next, right click and go down to convert to symbol. I'm going to call the symbol buzz. And I'm going to make it a graphic and register it in the center. The registration just decides where it is when you tell it its coordinates. Not a big deal. But make sure it's a graphic, otherwise this won't work. Click OK. Now that our bee is a symbol, it has its own timeline that lives inside of it. You will notice up here, after you double click on it, that you can get back to scene 1 by clicking there or by clicking this back button. So go inside of it, and now we have our own timeline here. I'm going to name the first layer body, and I'm going to make a new layer and name that layer wing. The wing I'm now going to draw, and make sure you are on the wing layer when you draw this wing. I'm going to change my color to something gray. I'm going to draw a wing, and then I'm going to use the paint bucket tool to fill that wing in. Okay, now it's time to animate it. For this one, we're going to do frame by frame animation using this tool that we haven't used before called the Free Transform tool. So I'm going to go to frame 2, right click, and insert a keyframe. You'll notice that it instantly asks me how I want to move the wing. The important thing is this white dot. We drag this white dot down to the bottom left corner, and that allows us to rotate the wing around wherever that dot is. If we leave it in the center, the wing rotates like that, which we don't want. So drag it down to that corner, rotate the wing a little, repeat the process, go to the next frame, insert a keyframe, drag the dot back over here, bring the wing down a little, go to the next frame, insert a keyframe. I'm going to bring it down one more, and then I'm going to bring it back up. Insert a keyframe. Now that we have all the frames in for the wing, you'll notice that the bee only appears on the first frame. That's because there's only frame data right there on frame 1. So we need to go to the end of our animation, right click, and insert a keyframe. You don't need to adjust it or do anything. Now the bee is going to stay there as the wing moves. And if you hit play, you can see it move. If you want to use the loop feature, click the loop button and then you drag it around. Hit play. There we go. We have a flapping wing. So let's go back to our main scene 1. Click up here to go back to scene 1. We have our bee here. Our animation is going to be 3 seconds long. So we are going to come out here to frame 90, right click, and insert a blank keyframe, which is going to add all this area in here. And right click and create a motion tween. This is just like we did with the snowboarder. So let's have our bee start up here in the top. At 1 second, come down here. At 2 seconds, swing over here. And then at 3 seconds, we can have it go up there. And then you could remember that you can click on these curvy lines using the selection tool and curve them to make a more smooth path. And notice that when he plays, the animation inside of him plays continuously in a loop. Make 5 more bees. This is very simple because we've created this bee as a symbol. So create a new layer. Let's call it bee number 2. And you'll see that it has empty keyframes all the way to 90 seconds. So on frame 1, we're going to go into the library, which you can get to over here. It's right next to the properties panel, or you can go to Window, Library. And you'll notice in this library, there's a little bee called, which we named him Buzz, and you could drag him onto the stage. So now, on this layer, there is its own version of that bee. And you could use the tool right under the selection tool, the free transform tool, to change the size of it. If you hold shift, it will keep the proportions. If you don't hold shift, you can make it a fat bee or a long boy, however you want. If you make a mistake, hit Control Z. I'm going to size this one down, and I'm going to add 4 more bees after this. I'm going to speed up the video. And done. So now I have 5 bees, and they all fly around the stage at all times with their wings constantly flapping. Beautiful. So now it's time for us to draw and animate a fly swatter. Go ahead and give yourself a new layer. I'm going to name this layer SWAT, and I'm going to go to the paintbrush tool and just try and animate it freehand. If you can't see your properties, that's because you're still in your library. Click back to your properties. I'm going to make this fly swatter green looking. I'm going to draw it as a beautiful circle with a handle. And then fill it in with the paint bucket tool. Yours doesn't have to look this good. And then I'm going to give it some cross hashing to add to the realistic effect. All right, up. And if you make a mistake with a line or something like that, just remember, hit Control Z to undo. Sometimes it'll give you this message if it's still drawing the lines. All right. It's so pretty it hurts. Well, now if I grab the selection tool and try and move part of my fly swatter, you'll notice that it's not all selected. It's multiple different parts. Each of these little boxes is its own box. So I need to use the selection tool and click above it and drag around it to get it all selected. And then we're going to right click, and guess what? We're going to convert this to a symbol the same way we did before. I'm going to name it swatter. It is going to be a graphic symbol, and the registration can stay in the middle. I will hit OK. If you're getting an error about naming it, it's because you probably named the layer swatter and the fly swatter swatter. They have to have separate names. Layers and symbols do. That's why I named the bee buzz and the layers bee. Now let's animate this fly swatter taking some swats at the bees. So I'm going to create a motion tween for this one too. And for this one, as the bees move around, I'll have the fly swatter chase after this one. And to make a quick motion, you want to have the dots very close together. So if I make it move a large distance over a short amount of time, it'll look faster. And you can see these dots. The further apart these dots are, that means the faster the fly swatter's moving. And then I'll have it draw back to the center slowly. And then somewhere around here, I'll have it get closer. Yeah, we'll have it move closer to this one down here. And then take a swing at him right here. Here, we'll make it. So this is how you get fast motion, by putting these dots very close. And then we will have it at the end pull back to the center, revealing the bug he swatted. All right. So let's play it from the beginning. See, he takes a swing, pulls back slowly, waits for another one, squash, pulls back. The bee that he is aiming at is this one, which is bee number 2. So we are going to make bee number 2 disappear when he gets swatted right here. So come down here to where bee number 2 is. Click on the frame where you want him to disappear. And let's click on all the frames after that. And right click and click remove frames. And this should make him disappear. Yep. See how his path even shortened? The motion tween finishes it for you. So at frame 74, he disappears from this world. It's no longer there. We're going to need to animate a splat though. So let's add a layer above bee number 2, but below the swatter. Name it splat. And its first keyframe will be here on frame 74. Don't put any keyframe data before this, and make sure your playhead is here and your cursor is selected right there. And we are going to draw it. So I'm going to use the brush tool. I'm going to choose the color yellow, and I'm going to hide the fly swatter for a second. And you can see that our bee was right there, so I'm going to animate his corpse here.
There we go. And let's
Now that we have the splat drawn, we can turn our fly swatter back on. And we could play our animation from the beginning. Beautiful. Once you've completed this, you can do the extra super bonus by converting your fly that you swatted to a symbol and animating the death animation, or you could just go to File, Export, and export it. Let's try this time. Exporting as animated GIF will work fine. Remember, if you can't see the save button, you might have to click up here and zoom out. If you want to keep your background color, turn off this transparency. Then click save. And if I save it right here, it will go nowhere. Make sure you click this PC, then home folder. I'm going to name it bgif and click save. Then you get back into your home folder, find the file, click the letters of the file name, and it will download into your browser, and then you can upload it to Google Classroom. Good luck.